Hey, everybody. Welcome to Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. I'm your host, Mark Riccadonna, and not with me today is Richie Byrne. Richie is actually in line to get a COVID test, so he will not be joining us. I'm in beautiful Florida at my hotel and on tour with the No Apologies comedy tour. I am going to bring out who's always with us, the amazing Tom Banis. Tom,
Hey, it's so nice to
how
see
are
you
you?
checking in from down there in Florida. It looks so gorgeous compared to my New York snow right now.
You know what's funny? Everybody's like, "Oh, I'm so jealous you're in Florida," but COVID's rampant, so I'm not going out.
There's always that.
And also, it's hoodie weather. It's not, shorts and t-shirt weather. It's
It's
I have
brisk.
a
It's brisk
yeah,
over
it's a
there.
little cold. So it's not as glorious as everybody thinks, but I am excited because I'm with a couple really great comics, and we'll probably be going live with them. Tom Cotter, Mitch Fatel, and Aaron Berg, who, I mean, it makes my job so easy. I've been joking around with them that I'm the Michael Anthony of the group. Nobody notices me at the end of the show. They're too busy talking about David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen. So um, I'm
But
just the
you're
chubby
live
guy.
tonight, right? You have a virtual comedy show tonight that everybody could tune into,
Yes.
right?
So you go to watchnowlive.com and you can buy tickets. They're shooting this like a Netflix special. There's like 4 or 5 cameras set up. They're going to be going through, and we're at the Mahaffey Theater in St. Petersburg, which is it's insane how beautiful it is. And they put us in a hotel across the street, so no matter how drunk I get, I can make it home. And there's also a soccer stadium. They have a soccer team called the Rowdies. I want to buy one of their jerseys. That's a great name.
That is a
But
great name.
so what I want to do is bring out our very special guest because we're talking about streaming the live show. Well, this guy's opening a virtual comedy club, so
That's
he is
so
the
interesting.
perfect person to talk to, and I'm going to bring him out. He's a very good friend of mine. Everybody, Jim Mendrinos is here.
Hey guys,
Hey,
Jim, are
pleasure.
you down in the studio?
I am in the lovely studio in the bunker in Colonia, New Jersey.
Yeah.
You can't
Oh,
get any
nice.
more glamorous and more show business than that.
I love that studio, man. You got a great
Yeah.
thing going. You're like a guy who's constantly evolving with whatever's happening in the industry.
I
You're a
try.
writer, you're a comedian, you do some acting, you also direct, and then the studios are not letting people in anymore, and so
Yeah.
you said, "Fuck it, I'll just open my own studio." You guys opened a studio in New Jersey. You're bringing in great talent. You're filming stuff. You're doing podcasts. You're doing now. The world shut down, and you said, "All right, virtual comedy club time."
Well, I mean, New York, which is it's our bread and butter. You and you're a little more on the road than I am. I stick to the city a little more than you do.
Yeah.
But I mean, in 2019, 41 of my 52 weekends were New York City weekends.
Wow.
I didn't have to go somewhere else. And COVID hits, and since March, nothing. Two clubs have already closed down in New York. The Creek in the Cave, which is sad for for performers that were a little more artistic, a little more cutting edge, and Dangerfields, which was home to traditional comics like me. And so it's all aspects of our industry are feeling it. And since March, we've had to have done over 100 to 200 virtual shows between March and now.
You
Wow.
turned your physical festival into a virtual festival.
Yep. And we ran that twice, and we did it 2 different ways. The first time we did it back in May, we just said to everybody, send us your best clip from a show, and we're going to showcase that. And we did it that way as a virtual festival. This time we did them as shows that we Zoomed. And by the way, those Zoom shows are still available. If you go to New York Underground Comedy Festival.com, or nycundergroundcomedy.com, and you go to that website, you could click on and go to our Zerb site, and event number 7 has all the live shows that we did. So it's over 20 hours of content for $10 that you could go watch. And we had over 250 comics. Mark came in and headlined a couple of shows for us, and
a lot of fun comics from everywhere.
Yep.
So
Yeah, we literally
nycundergroundcomedy.com.
Yep. And we literally had comics from all over the world. And, I mean, when I talk it all over the world, comics performed from Japan, comics performed from Australia, comics performed from Dubai, comics performed from Israel, comics performed from South Africa, London, New York, LA, South America. I mean, it literally was all over the world. I mean,
it was so fun. It was fun watching comics from different regions coming on, and you see different styles. You see, I noticed a lot of more like one-linery type comics from the middle of the country, and a lot more storytelling vibe from the coasts.
Yep.
And then it was really cool. I was on one show, and there was somebody from South America, and they were fantastic, and just a different take on what is comedy. It's really interesting. I love that you keep changing it up, and you're not afraid to take risks, which
no. And here's the whole thing. When we began it, we thought we would do 5 nights, 5 events, and feature 50 comics. We had well over 300 apply, and John G, who my partner here, John G said, and he came and he said, hey, let's make it open to as many of them as we can take. And there's always some comics, unfortunately, you can't take. Like, I love you, but you are too new. You are just too new to be in a festival. So we had to say no to some people. But we said yes to over 240 people. We were able to say yes to. And I got from people, oh, you shouldn't have let so many in. Well, why not? We want to create a series. We want to create a feeling of camaraderie. We want to create a sense of brotherhood. We want to give opportunity to comics. The fine folks from America's Got Talent asked and requested certain shows that we send the tapes in on, which was awesome. So that's 3 different shows. That's 30 different comics that are getting opportunities that they wouldn't have had. And then for me, the biggest part of it was, I don't know what you're missing most during the pandemic, Mark, but for me, it's the camaraderie.
Exactly. Last night in the green room, we were all talking about it, how insane it is to be sitting in a green room talking to other comics.
Absolutely.
And I was joking around with them, though. I wanted to rename this tour the I'm going to risk getting COVID because I'm too afraid to lose my house comedy tour.
Yeah, I get that.
And no apologies. Our government people should be apologizing because they're not giving any relief.
None.
And it's just ridiculous that I have to risk getting sick
to try to make a live audience on the No Apologies tour.
Yeah, they do. It's very cut down. So like we were at the Improv last night, sold it out. Of course, they could only seat like 60 people instead of 300. So it's tonight we're at a 2,500 seat theater, and I think they're only letting 150 people in. So
wow, out of 2,500 seats.
Yeah, they're gonna kind of get the front, so we feel like there's people there, but it's more for the streaming aspect.
It's rotating caps is what a lot of theaters are doing, which even though their capacity is 1,000, so you would think 250, they're rotating it, and so they could seat 6 feet between parties. So it winds up being close to around 16% when you do the math based on the shape of most theaters. There's a couple of theaters in Westchester that have approached us to do live shows, and even a movie theater up in Teaneck that wanted us to do some live shows before the second spike hit. And as we do it, and you sit down there, and you're literally sitting with graph paper, and a compass, going, "Okay, what's the radius? Where can I put people? What do I have to block off?" It's ridiculous.
And well, one of the things too is doing live shows. I only want to really work for super professional people because you always hear people say we're taking all the COVID stuff seriously, and you're like, wait a minute, this is a club or a room that the owner used to skimp on everything when there wasn't COVID. You really think he's measuring?
If there was no hand soap in the dispenser in the bathroom pre-COVID, you're probably not really getting a true COVID precautionary.
No.
Yeah, I was super lucky. Our Dan and Jerry Abrahamson, right when the virus hit, put me in a theater that was upstate, and they significantly had to cut down the numbers, but they were very strict on how they did it. And there was sanitizer in every row. They had sectioned off, so there was empty rows in between, like 3 empty rows till a party could sit. Yep. And then it was like a checkerboard, and it was a huge theater, but they only ended up having like 100 people, even though it could fit probably 1,200. And you felt safe. You weren't allowed, other than when you were on stage, you had to have a mask on if you did anything. And they threw people out who took their masks off during the show. And it's like, well, of course, because when you laugh, you're projecting laughter at the stage. It's like just COVID being flung at you.
I did a country club in New Jersey 2 weeks ago. And the conversation was, we will have full COVID precautions. Do not worry about anything. And I get up there, I park my car, and it's 250 Jersey people running rampant. No mask, no nothing. The audience was not masked. And I said to the owner, one of us is masked. They're masked or I'm masked. You get a better show if they're masked. And he said, like, I'm not going to ask my audience to put a mask on. I went up there first show, did it with a mask on. I got a mask. I got my gloves. I'm protected.
Yeah.
Sorry you guys are feeling that way. I made as much of a joke about it as I could, and then the second show, he's there like, are you really going to wear that mask again on the second show? I'm there like, make the announcement that they have to wear their masks or I wear mine. It's that simple. And so he did, and they wore their masks the second show, and I didn't. This is a fine second show, and then they've asked me if I wanted to go back, and I'm there like, no.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, you're damn lucky I didn't leave when I was there.
It just blows my mind that people don't take it serious. And I mean, even a couple of the guys on the tour, I won't say which one, but was saying that it's no big deal. It's not a big deal. And it's like, okay, so note to self, I will be wearing a mask every time I'm around you, because if you don't take it serious, you're going to put my life in risk. I'm going to miss Christmas with my kids because you don't take it serious. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, this is the current state everywhere, right? I'm sure, like, amongst comedians, you're on tour with 3 other guys, so you got to be pretty close proximity most of the time with everybody. We got to choosing who you're with it's tough, but you got to be as right. You can only be as vigilant as you can for the most part.
Yeah.
Even being in hotels, I feel like has to be tough for you traveling around right now.
Yeah, I mean,
hotels, right?
You get nervous because it's like you were talking about. We're going to take all the COVID precautions. Well, does that mean you mop the floor? Like, that doesn't help me. You got to disinfect. You have to, it's got to be taken serious. And if they're not, then that's how it keeps spreading.
My studio closed down March 13th. Like, all places in Jersey closed down. We got you could start to reopen at around June 2nd. They started whispering that we could. Around June 17th, they started issuing edicts like, all right, you're a studio, you need to deep clean before you can open. And there were deep cleaning services that were available, which were $60,000 to $80,000 for a deep cleaning service. And then I sat down and I went, okay, can you send me an itemized list of what you're going to do for that $60,000 to $80,000? And they sent me a list, and basically it was clean every surface with alcohol that's 75% or higher. and that was it. That was the entirety of the deep clean. So it was, all right, every owner come in here, get a COVID test. We're all COVID free. Great. We're all getting together on a Tuesday and we're deep cleaning the studio. Every service gets that. When they say full COVID precautions, they're meaning masks, gloves, temperature checks, and deep cleans. And we've had to do those deep cleans. You have to do a deep clean once a month if you're a business owner in New Jersey, and you're supposed to spot clean every time a space gets used.
See, that learning new stuff. I mean, right now I'm super risking it. I'm in the lobby because the Wi-Fi in my room's horrible, but I'm in a far corner about 100 yards away from the front desk, and I came over here and wiped everything down and set up on a little table. And there's a much more beautiful spots that I could be in with a cool background, but I was like, that place looks like people have sat there. That place looks like people have sat there. I'm standing with my phone on a bar, like a high table, and I'm doing my best to only touch the places I know I wiped down.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jim, with the virtual shows, what are you? Is it more Zoom shows, or is it more like I'm super curious about it because I do a lot of live entertainment stuff as well. Like I did a virtual poker event last night, so we incorporated a Zoom with a poker platform, and it ran super smooth. There's a dealer at every table helping people walk them all through it, but people are newer to it even at this stage of the game. So I'm so interested in like what you're doing on the virtual side.
Well, so when we figured out that New York wasn't going to open anytime soon, my partner, and I got to give John G credit for this, he said, let's open up a comedy club. Let's have a full-time 7-night a week comedy club online where people can actually do stuff and people can actually, congregate. And again, it's how do you build an audience? How do you, provide the accoutrement? How do you have the comedy club experience over Zoom? And for us, there were a couple of things that were, key watermarks. In the shows that we've done up to this point, we had to learn the technology enough to how do you spot a Zoom bomber? How do you get them out of the room quick enough? How do you turn down the noisy microphones? How do you encourage the audience to keep their mics on so the comic can hear the laughter? You had to figure all of that out. And once we figured all of that out, we were there like, okay, let's give it a start. Let's put it out there. And we announced that we were going to do it. And basically, 7:00 show on Sundays, 8:00 show every other night. We're going to open up and do it. We added open mics for newer comics. We're adding some classes for newer comics as well. And then once we made the announcement, Broadway Comedy Club called us up and went, hey, this is a really good idea. And we want to also keep our brand out. Plus, we have a mailing list, so we can actually mail in and increase the amount of audience that you guys can get to start, which is incredibly important because we could start with 3 people at a Zoom show, or we could start with 30. I think we'd all rather start with 30 people at a Zoom show.
Yeah.
And then they were there like, do you think comics are willing to work for door deals, percentages? And so I started contacting the guys I know, like Mark, do you want spots? Can it be a door deal? And what it is it's a matter for us as the organizer to put more work into it. Number one, to build an audience as quick as we can, which is a big part of it. And so there'll be tons of ticket giveaways and all the other things that you need to build a virtual audience. But 2, and I think this is the more important one, understanding that if Mark gets a gig that pays his rent, that's a guaranteed $200, he needs to take it. And we got to be able to be
the fact that when we talk that you're flexible like that. Yeah. I mean, you're an artist as well, so you understand the pain of going like, I really do want to do this, but I also need to take this gig because I need,
Yeah.
And that means the world to have an art space by an artist, so that they understand what else is going on.
And it was a big thing for us for me to go, okay, there needs to be, to attract an audience, I need the best talent possible. I need Mark Riccadonna on a show. I need Carol Montgomery on a show. I need Leanne Lord on a show. I reached out to Rick Overton who right now has got some stuff he's going through physically, but when he's recouped and 100%, he's jumping on shows. Franklin and Jai is going to jump on a show from
That's
Australia at
fantastic.
some point.
John Paul Romero actually chimed in a little. He said he did your festival. He thinks in 2009 got to work with Franklin and Jai. It was such a great festival.
It was, and Franklin's one of my, dearest friends, and I just sit and learn with him every time he opens his mouth, and reaching out to. I'm reaching out to the big boys. I'm reaching out to Tom Dreesen. I'm reaching out to Chris Rock. I'm reaching out to all the people I've known for 40 years in the industry almost, and saying, hey, guys, if you want to work, obviously you don't need to work. If you're Chris Rock, if you're, Tom Dreesen, you don't need to come on a Zoom show. But, hey, if you want to, if you're bored, if you want to work alongside it, because
you want to teach the young comics how it's done. Because I think a lot of these guys who are the elder statesmen, I think that they come and see comedy and they say, I want to teach you guys what I've learned. Comedy's not as a selfish thing as I think a lot of people think it is. No. Comedians love giving. Even if it's, after a show, somebody comes over and has a note for you. Oh, here's a great tag. That's how I got most of my work was I would, after a comic would get off stage, I would say, hey, here's a line you could put in there. And then next thing you know, they wanted me to start working with them because I'm giving them jokes.
So, and I mean, for us, the best part about this is we're able to serve 4 communities that need to be served. Number one, Broadway Comedy Club is obviously keeping their brand alive. And that's a big important thing. They don't have a live stage where people can visit now. Well, now they have a stage where people can see a quality show. I've got a show that's Mark and me and Leanne and Gary Delina, and that's a hell of a show.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Wow.
Yeah, and so they can come see a quality show, so the audience gets served. The older comics get served because we get to make a few bucks when there's not as much work as we want out there. And then the newer comics get served because I get to put some new comics on shows with veteran people. So you get to learn from them. And I also get to tailor some programs. I had a lot of the talent that was at the festival said, if you guys do classes for female comics, we'd love to take one. So I asked Leanne Lord, you want to teach a class for female comics? And she was all on board for it. And then she turned, and here's back to the giving thing. I asked her what she needed in terms of making money, and she said, "What's the cheapest price point we could put this at? Because there's a pandemic, and I want to make sure these people can attend."
That's sweet. I wanted to charge $1,000 for my class.
Yeah, you want to charge $1,000? And you know what? I think we'd still feel it if you did.
I just need one student
One
at $1,000.
You want one-on-one coaching.
That's funny.
John brought up that your festival back in the day when he did it with Franklin and Jay. I don't know if you remember, Jim. We did one of the first storytelling shows. Oh, yeah. We did storytelling before it became a really big thing
on 41st Street, wasn't it?
110.
Oh, we went uptown. Okay.
It was the old underground, underground at the Underground Festival. And we had like A. Whitney Brown.
Yeah.
I have those DVDs. I just have to remember. I have the old DVDs. I just have to remember how to get them onto a computer because no computers have hard drives anymore. You could put a DVD in. But,
I have not worked with Whitney, and it's got to be 15 years now. Has to be.
Well, he moved to Austin.
Yep.
He moved to Austin, Texas. He was working as a jazz DJ on a radio station.
Whitney was one of the first 5 comics I saw. I saw him and Paula Poundstone at the old Carolines on 8th Avenue, which was their original location. Way back in 84. And then the next night I saw Carol Leifer open for Jerry Seinfeld. Same location.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
So you've been, what year did you start?
I started September 5th, 1983. That was my
Wow.
first day ever on stage.
That was the time to be doing it. The first wave of the boom happened,
Yeah.
and it was you were there when everybody started to migrate west.
Yeah, and then, so many of the New York comics migrated west that New York had a vacuum that, a lot of us started at the same time. I literally started with hundreds, and then there were a bunch of
Wow.
us that jumped in, me, Chris Rock, Colin Quinn, Jeanette Barber, Judy Golds, Susie Essman jumped in and filled that. I mean, I'm the runt of that litter. I literally am the runt of
You were
that.
the baby.
Yeah, well, not only was I the youngest, but all of them went on to this mega stardom, and I'm there like, I wrote a book. I've been on TV 100 times. I'm a big deal, but that not compared to what they've managed to accomplish. And here's the crazy part: we weren't the most talented ones. I mean, I can reach back and Johnny Solomon, not Jonathan Solomon, who stayed in the industry. There's a comic named Johnny Solomon who did characters that everyone was sure was going to be a comic. Everyone was sure was going to be the next big thing. He was out before 1990. And so many great comics that you would have thought, you would bet money that they'd be the ones that are still there, and they're gone. And I'm incredibly grateful for the fact that I've been doing this over 35 years, that this has been how I've made my living for my entire life, my entire adult life, between writing on TV, being on TV, doing this, and now the little bit of producing I'm doing. It's been awesome to do that. But, it's been a ride. It's been a hell of a roller coaster ride. But, I mean, that's when we did the festival in May, the first incarnation of the festival. I had, and this isn't hyperbole, maybe 100 emails from brand new comics that have been doing it a year, maybe 2 years, going, I finally found what I love, and it's never coming back again. And so we started the festival to kind of give hope for that. But, I mean, I've been around long enough. I was around in the 80s with the AIDS epidemic, and nobody wanted to be in a place and drink from the same glasses that other people would, because what the virus is in the glass. So there was a dip in comedy club audiences in the late 80s, and they jumped back and thrived again. And then in 2001, after 9/11, nobody wanted to be there. What if they bombed the building when we're in it? And clubs were empty for about an hour, and it popped back. People need to realize that, yes, this virtual club is going to start, and I'm positive there will be virtual comedy clubs till the end of time now. It's just another avenue, but I'm also positive that the second they say, hey, Broadway Comedy Club can open up on 53rd Street, you're going to sell out like that, because people want to be entertained. They definitely want to be entertained, and especially in a live forum.
And I what you're saying about the Zoom comedy clubs are here to stay. And a lot of comics were saying, as soon as things open up, Zoom's going to be over and it's not worth doing or whatever. So my thought was, these guys who refuse to change with the times, they're going to phase out. Because the other thing that happened is they said Zoom was going to go out, but they're going to keep doing corporate meetings over Zoom, because it's so much cheaper to have a Zoom corporate meeting, flying all of their people in and going to one place. So corporate events are going to be on Zoom. So if you want to do corporate comedy, you better learn how to do it on Zoom, and you better learn how to be funny in a clean corporate way. And it's not bad to make money staying home.
No. But the other thing about Zoom that I remember when, the cable boom in the 80s happened. And back when I started, I'm around long enough that you wanted to be on the Tonight Show. You didn't even want to be on Letterman. You want to be on the Tonight Show. And then Letterman popped up, and people were there like, I'm not doing Letterman. It's a low budget Tonight Show. And people didn't realize that Letterman eventually was what you wanted to do. And I don't want to be on, a horrible little evening at the Improv show on A&E. Who's going to watch that? I want to be on a network show. And then those shows started getting you popularity. I don't want to be on Comedy Central. It's like a factory for comedians. You won't stand out. And then they started being the kingmakers. We keep having new technology, and we keep having a section of our industry that just goes, that'll never catch on. Nobody wants to do that.
Nobody wants to change with the times because they feel like they all, no matter what they're doing, and I believe changing is these are the best times of our lives, no matter what's happening. I mean, we're in a pandemic. We're going to look back and go, remember we did comedy from our houses? Like, that was awesome. And now I have to go back out on the road.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, you have to evolve with the time. I mean, I just found out last night. I think Mike Somerville was on our when we were just an audio podcast, and he told the story. He MC went to bring him up, and he goes, "What do you want me to mention?" He goes, "Well, I've done Letterman, 3 times," and the guy goes, "Is that a podcast?"
Wow.
Like, that's the most sought after credit people wanted, and now the younger people don't even know it was a show.
Yeah, when people say to me, how often have you been on TV? I've been on television over 100 times, over 100 TV appearances. How come I haven't heard of you? Yeah, that's the problem. There's a lot of TV. There's a whole lot of TV out there. And people don't understand it's a massive accumulation, and it's building an audience. I mean, you look at people like John Mulaney and how he built his audience through social media. You look at Dane Cook, the OG of building an audience through social media, or what Liz Bailey is able to accomplish building her audience through social media. Zoom is social media. These shows, virtual shows, are social media. It's another step in the incarnation.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to keep evolving, and now with like VR and how people are doing the video games, and now people are playing video games with their friends through the goggles, and it's everything's we don't even know what the next thing is. We don't know what it could be. So it's the times are kind of exciting, even though we're living in this pandemic world. It's kind of exciting to what's next, what's going to happen. How do we do it? Hey, Margarita. That's awesome.
I want to be like 90 years old, after 7 decades in comedy, and just we are doing comedy on a new platform that nobody's even envisioned. And somebody's like, Jim, do you want to get the chip so you could do the show? Yeah, chip me, baby. Fucking chip me at that point.
We're gonna Obi-Wan Kenobi you and turn you into a hologram. That little R2D2 is going to wheel into a theater and shoot your thing off.
When I die, just let me fucking rest. I'm fine giving as much as I got right now.
I was going to say, you could live in perpetuity on Zoom shows. Think about that. You are immortalized with virtual comedy.
It's funny because I've been doing Zoom shows, and like I said, I've literally done 100 Zoom shows over the past 10 months. And somebody sat down and went on all the ones that they could find of me on YouTube, and they said, you realize that you've got over an hour of material that you wrote during quarantine. And I'm there like, yes, that's the job. That's what we're supposed to do. Write a ton.
Yeah. Just keep working.
Yeah.
But do you think some comedians took this time to keep putting the work into their craft, or do you think some just took it to totally take off, and say, all right, I guess we're on. Some people I feel like just were like, all right, we're paused, I'm going to sit still, and other people still kept working hard, and they're going to be more accomplished. And Margarita said 100 Zoom shows. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a really big accomplishment or a really sad accomplishment. I've done 100 Zoom shows for 10 live shows, but I'm still glad I did the 100 Zoom shows.
But I think now that we have a new audience member too. Don't forget, there is Jim is actually launching a new virtual comedy club that you could attend every night, 7 p.m. on Sundays, 8 p.m. the rest of the week. And where you can find that? We can find that also at the New York City Underground Comedy.
No, comedytherapy.com is the name of the club. And the Underground was the festival that we had run, so I do appreciate that scroll. But the comedytherapy.com or BroadwayComedyClub.com. Either one of those places will bring you to our schedule.
All the roads lead to Rome.
Yeah.
There you go.
But to answer your question, there's a whole lot of comics that did nothing but sulk for the pandemic. And it sad to say, it's my generation. It's the older ones that basically was there like, no, it's not live. I don't want to fucking do it. And I'm sitting there looking at them like, I do understand that I'm slightly more in tune with the younger audience than most comics my age are. Most of us are there like, I do 18 theaters and 8 retirement communities and a cruise ship a year. I'm fine. My calendar's full. And I get that. I've carved a different path. But man.
But you're a guy who evolves. You constantly are moving.
But here's the thing. When you started doing stand-up, I remember watching you one day on stage, as a storyteller going, wow, so this generation's going to incorporate more storytelling. That's fucking awesome. You know what I mean? And because my generation was the one-liner generation. So when I came up, me doing stories, they were looking at me like, this is a bit weird that you do that. And
you didn't do any jokes.
So it was nice to just see the next generation, but then it's also pushing me because I saw you guys in your generation doing stuff that my generation wouldn't dream of. Now, there's always guys from the older generation. I look at, somebody like from the generation before me, an Overton or an A. Whitney Brown, who were telling stories that I couldn't even dream of, or somebody from a generation younger than me, like DC Benny, who's telling stories, and you're going, wow, I couldn't dream of doing that either. There's always the innovators, but the classes of themselves have a base level of competency. My class had a base level of competency. Mark's class had a base level of competency. And if you're a new comic listening to this, your class is a base level of competency. And your base level of competency should push Mark's generation, which in turn should push my generation. That's what you need to do, and just push it. And Margarita pointed out something great. Yes, there's a singer that is releasing a bevy of albums, but Paul McCartney released an album today that he wrote and recorded during quarantine.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I mean,
and that's somebody who doesn't need the work. I think he's doing okay.
Yeah.
He's probably all right. Yeah. He's probably financially stable.
He's got it. Let me ride this one out. Artists, that's what we do. And like everybody, I'm sure when the pandemic first hit and you saw the clubs close, me, Mark, everybody looked at it and went, how the fuck am I paying my bills? And we probably solved that problem within about 3 weeks. And then we're there like, well, how do I prevent myself from going stir fucking crazy? Because I have no artistic output. That's the bigger issue.
I was joking around with my business partner that I do the films with. I think we're busier now than we were when things were wide open. We're in the middle of trying to get this movie into distribution. We're in the middle of, the taking meetings for future projects and, writing. And we're just as busy. If you're an artist, you will art.
And you're adaptable too. So think about it, like all the pieces that were taken up by people that weren't adaptable, now those people are gone and you're willing to push forward. So there's more opportunity for you than there was right? Because there's less people in that space. Margarita said artists who are creative are going to be artists regardless of the money. They do it because they can't stop themselves.
I really like you, Margarita. I'm so happy you keep you tune in when we come on. It's
Margarita's really on smart. Our Twitch side. Yeah, she's over on our Twitch side, which is fun. We're just launching over there. And Jim,
I need to say this as well, because Margarita is absolutely right. An artist creates art for themselves, but we do have to push for people to patronize the arts, because art in a vacuum, as beneficial as it is, and I've always said, if I could do comedy from my living room, I would. Little did I know that was a prophetic, statement when I started saying it. But what we need is the feedback, and we also need the freedom to do it. And if you're worried about mortgages, you don't have the freedom to do it. Mark has 2 kids that he needs to send to school and feed and a house mortgage. you know, we need to also make sure that the ways we support artists, great phrasing there, Margarita, the ways we support artists are financial, as well as just, hey, good job. That's why it was so important for me when we started the comedy club, and I had the conversation with Al Martin, and Al turned around and went, hey, you know what? Let's make sure the comics can make some money. And I'm there like, okay, so we can have up to 300 people at this show, and a Wednesday night show at $10, that's up to $3,000, which means there's up to $1,500 that the comics can split. Now, if I only get 2 people, there's $10 for the comics to split. But there's something for them to split.
Something for for the time and effort. And hey, Tom, real quick, can you find the when we go out, can you play the No Apologies video with the TV?
Yeah,
I think it's in our Dropbox. Sorry, I can't put it in the chat box because I'm going off my phone today.
That's a private message for me, Mark, but okay.
No I'm on my phone because of the Wi-Fi at the Hilton, and the Wi-Fi is just atrocious. So I figured going rogue on the phone.
Yeah. Take care of your housekeeping.
Margarita, what kind of are you a singer? Are you? I'd love if we could connect, so maybe we could play some of your stuff. If you're a singer or if you're a painter, maybe show some of your stuff. I think it's awesome that we have viewers who are being interactive with us.
I really like the Twitch platform. I feel like a lot of people are there to support other people. Like when we were first introduced to it, it was more of a gaming platform, and I thought it was more gaming. And what we're coming to find is there's a lot of people that are just expressive artists, and there is a community of people there to support those artists. So I think this is a place that comedy might move towards. I just hope we're some of the pioneers for it. Like while Jim's doing a virtual comedy show, I feel like I would love to connect the Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling channel with Jim, and like maybe if he's doing stuff, we can put out a lot of the promo for it on that channel.
Well, you guys also record these, do you not?
Yeah.
Well, I happen to have that network.
Well, we were supposed to come to your studio and record. What's his name from? I can't believe I can't think of his name. Mulrooney, and also what's his name from Rascals. We were gonna have them come down, and then the pandemic spiked again.
Yeah, and
we're like, all right, I guess we'll wait until it slows down. Looks like it's not slowing down.
But, we have. Why am I blanking out on what the name of our network is? Marco. Yeah, what's the name of our network? All Media TV.
All Media TV. I will get that.
Allmediatv.com. We have a streaming network, and our streaming network carries currently 2 podcasts, including mine. So there's always room for a third.
We could, dude. I am loving combining work with you because you are exactly what it's supposed to be. It's about art. It's about putting out a good product. It's about being interesting and original. You guys do a lot of. You guys have a channel on Amazon. Why don't we? We should post about that as well because you guys have original.
Everything that's on the Amazon channel, and I tell people this, and I'm vehemently pro artist. So Amazon's going to freak when I say the next statement. I'm going to say Amazon underpays their artists, me included. They underpay all the artists. We get pennies on a dollar. And we started All Media TV as a streaming service that we have, subscribers. We have a handful of subscribers now. We're building each month. And we took everything that we had available on Amazon, and it's also available on All Media. Okay. It's available cheaper on All Media, and our artists get paid more for it on All Media than they do on Amazon.
Yes, so go to All Media.
Yeah.
That's do it All Media, but if you have Amazon,
you go on All Media and
watch it so you can know that you're going to buy a good product.
Here's the best part about
allmediatv.com, right?
If you go to allmediatv.com, you can get a free 7-day subscription. And if you turn out and you don't like the content that's on our channel, cancel it. And you don't pay us a dime. But for 7 days, you can watch new shit that you haven't seen before. Can I say that on your podcast?
Of course.
There you go. You can see new shit that you haven't seen before. And if you don't like it, you just cancel. If you do like it, you keep watching.
Dig it out.
And there's we have, over 300 videos on that channel. Everything from full-length movies. Your the game show that you did, not the game show, the
game night.
Game night with Sean is on there.
Sean Lynch,
as well as his movie, Gail's New Boyfriend, which you played a lovely ventriloquist.
What's with me and puppets? Why am I always doing stuff with puppets?
This guy has a puppet fetish for sure. Margarita wants to know, where can you see and support? Where are the Zoom shows?
Okay, go to comedytherapy.com and you will see a calendar. The December calendar is up there right now. Boom, go.
Bill,
well, if you look at what they did
to their authors was just obscene. And if you don't know what that's about, just Google it. But what Spotify is doing to musical artists, that's what they did to their authors. Other people can buy your ebooks and you'll make like $1.30 for 1,000 sales. It's ridiculous. But here's the thing. The audience, when I tell the audience you could go to All Media and get it cheaper and it's the exact same content, it does not have the cachet of an Amazon. So as a company, I need to put stuff on Amazon because I need the cachet of the brand association. But I want to be able to tell people, look, go to the place that treat the artist the best. If the artist can make, I know it sounds crazy, but you make 6 cents an hour. So if someone streams my hour-long special on Amazon, I get 6 cents. That's what I get. Now, if I have a distributor, the distributor takes a cut from it as well. All right. Yeah. Whereas that same thing on that same thing on All Media TV, I'm probably making the equivalent of $1 or $2 as opposed to 6 cents. So that's what I want to push people towards the places where the artists can make a little bit more of a living wage. Now, look, every company is created to make money. This comedy club that we're doing hopefully makes money, but we have to pay for the Zoom. We have to pay for the advertising. We have to pay for somebody to run the show. We have to pay for all those things. We need to make a profit to do that. But we have to. And I mean, absolutely have to, as a society, support artists in ways that help them. And the best way to help them is who pays them the most. Support that person more.
Yeah. That's so true. And that's the same with the comedy clubs. The comedy clubs who treat the comedians well are the ones you should go to. Yeah. I do a lot of independent like rock clubs. And that when I was on the road hardcore, I would do those and they were always good to us. They would give us a guarantee, but then they'd give us small guarantee, but then they'd give us a really nice chunk of the door if we did better that way. And you have to support people like that because, a lot of these cookie cutter clubs, they just say, this is what we're paying you. And, screw you. We're going to make $1 million and you're going to make $5 million. I
used to do a wonderful jazz club in New York City called Small's Paradise up on 135th Street in Adam Clayton Powell. All African American ownership, all African American name. I think I might have been the only white guy to ever walk in there. It was ridiculous, when I walk in and people would look at me like he's got to be a cop. And then I would be the comic on those shows, and they'd always put me up. And I must have done in the 80s and 90s when I was performing there on a regular basis, thousands of shows there. Every time I walked through the door, there was a drink waiting for me. There was food waiting for me. I'd perform. I'd get off stage. There'd be money waiting for me. They'd give me my choice of, hey, here's the artists that are coming in next month because they knew I also love jazz. Is there anybody you want to see? Is there anybody you want to work with? So I got to do that kind of stuff as well. It was It was
Margarita said
amazing.
she's black, but she would have walked in with you. She could have been ebony and
Margarita,
ivory.
you don't know how funny that line is when it's directed at me. Yeah. Yeah,
Jim
that
is
pretty much my entire dating history. So
yeah.
So all of this to say, you go in there, and I went in there, and there was one night there was a snowstorm. I made it all the way up because of the snowstorm. There literally was 5 people in the room, literally, and the owner's trying to pay me, and I'm there like, dude, Margarita, no flirting till I see what you look like.
I'm loving this.
Yeah, have fun with the audience. And he's trying to pay me, and I'm there like, you've paid me every time I walked in. What are you going to give me, $1? You know, buy me booze and let me listen to the band, and we're good. We're square. You know, we've also as artists have to take care of the people that take care of us as well.
Yeah. Well, that was when we were in New York, and Angie's a teacher, and there was a hiring freeze, so she couldn't get a job, and so she started bartending at the Underground, and the cheapest people on the planet were the comics. They would drink, they would give them free drinks, and they wouldn't even tip. It's like, you're getting free drinks and you're not even going to leave a tip. At least the musicians were, didn't have a pot to piss in. They would still give at least $1.
I remember when I first started doing spots at the comic strip back in the 80s. If you made the schedule on a weeknight, you made $7. $7. Margarita, I know, but you have me at a disadvantage. You made $7 on a weeknight show, and that was it. And I remember one night being there drinking from, dusk till dawn, drinking from when I walked in to when I walked out, and I signed for my money, and I literally just got the $7 and handed it back. Like, thanks. I wish it was more.
There's so many times. Yeah. There's so many times when I've been at the comic strip and just drank about a gallon of tequila with Vic Henley, and I go to sign for my money, and I go, just keep it. Just keep it. There's no way.
Yeah, but I can't tell you how many times, if a comic was late, because back then I used to live close to the club, the bartender was like, call Jim, he lives near here. I got that because they knew I was a decent guy and I treated them well too. You know what I mean? It was partially funny. There's a lot of people funnier than me back then. We had Wolfberg, we had Bolster, we had, Wade Fetterman, we had a ton of just genius comics walking through there. Yep. Call Jim. You call it Jim because Jim tips better. It goes a long way.
Dude, everybody asks me how I got in at the Funny Bone. They're like, dude, you always get gigs at the Funny Bone. And it's because at the end of the weekend, I would walk through and peel off a $5 to every single person, from the cook, the dishwasher, to every waitress that didn't work, didn't serve me. And then I'd give whoever was working the green room, I'd give more money, but I gave everybody a $5 just for being an employee. And then whenever they would have a thing, so this guy's not bringing an opening act, we need to bring somebody. The people from the kitchen would be, bring Riccadonna.
on 9/11, when 9/11 happened, I had a corporate gig. I was doing a corporate breakfast meeting in Columbus, Ohio. So I flew in on the 10th, stayed in the hotel. The morning of the 11th, I went in for a 9 a.m. sound check. By the time I got to the sound check, the first plane had already hit. And everyone's there like, are we doing the show? Are we not doing the show? In the middle of doing the sound check, the second plane hit. Wow. And the gentleman that ran the corporation, the medical supply corporation, came up to me and he went, they're going to close the airports. You're from New York, aren't you, sir? And I went, yes, I am. And he goes, here is your check, and here is a key to a rental car. Go home. Return the rental car at the airport tomorrow. There's no other way you're going to get home and make sure your family's okay. Now, I didn't even ask him, for this. And I'm there like, take your check back. I didn't do the show. And he's there like, no, you came out to do the show. I'm canceling the show because of these circumstances. But you came out to do the show. You get your check. Wow. All right. You know what? I'm not going to argue with you now because I want to get home to my family. I get home to my family. I call him up the next day, and I'm there like, I'm going to tear up your check. And he's there like, I'll be offended if you tear up the check. He goes, just do the check and give me a discount when you come and do, a Christmas event for us. And I'm there like, okay. So he booked me then and there for a Christmas event, and the money was supposed to be, again, a couple of grand. I go and I do the Christmas event. He goes to hand me the check. I rip that one up in front of him. I went, you paid me in September. And he said, like, you're ripping up a check for a couple of $1,000s. And I went, yeah, because you paid me in September. Thank you. You made sure I was okay.
And when Jim wasn't looking, I was picking up the pieces and taping it together.
Here's what that check got me. That check literally got me $35,000 because for the next 12 years, I did every one of their Christmas parties. They flew me to every one of their Christmas parties. They all paid $2,000 to $3,000 until the company was bought by another company. And obviously, you know what happens at that point.
Yeah.
But up until that point, I did every other Christmas for them. And it took doing the right thing one time. He did the right thing by me. I returned the favor. And from that point
I love hearing this.
This is the kind of person I want to deal with.
I love hearing this because this is proof that good things happen. And it always, and you watch TV or you do anything, you always hear about the good guy getting screwed. And it's awesome. You hear the good guy did a good thing and then got the karma of being a good person. I love that. Yeah. I absolutely. Jim, you're a good guy. So one of the reasons Jim and I got to be so close is we've done a bunch of Armed Forces entertainment tours together, which we have to have you. We're hitting the hour mark, which is where we like to wrap, but we got to have you back on to talk about this.
Absolutely. And before I go, I just got to say, Margarita, you can find me on social media, send the picture, and we'll get
She actually said, she was like, oh, you're in Jersey? Cool. Yep. I'm going to follow you on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram right now.
There you go.
Nice.
If follows me on Instagram, I'll be able to stalk her photos.
You said, oh, I already followed you.
I'll be Hold on, let's go over and see what she looks like. Hold on.
Oh God, let me know when he comes back.
Oh, I'm never that far away, Tom. I'm right over here.
Jim, let's book you now. I want to take advice from your corporate friend. I'm going to put you back in the books now.
Right.
I'm
so excited for your club.
The club will be fine. She didn't follow me. She must have followed the club. She did not follow me though.
Oh, she might have followed the club. So you know what? That's a good question. What's your Instagram? Jim Mendrinos?
Mendrinos in exile. Mendrinos _ exile.
Look at that. Way to segue into a plug on the Instagram. That was perfect. Mendrinos in exile is what we have to follow on there. And then also let's just wrap up with letting everybody know one more time. This virtual comedy club, the best place to find it is going to be, what was the name one more time? Is it All Media TV?
No, comedytherapy.com. I run actually like 87 businesses, so it's going to be hard to keep track of them all. Comedytherapy.com is where you can find all the stand-up shows. Our first one's going to be this Sunday night at 7:00. Margarita, if you find a way to get me an email address, I will send you a free ticket to the show.
Look at that for tuning in to Drink Jokes and Storytelling. He's inviting you to a show.
There you go.
This could be the start of a beautiful connection. Look at this.
I'm telling you, it's a love connection. We're going to have to together. But yes, if you find a way to get a hold of me, you will have a ticket.
And Jim, I'm gonna throw it down right now. I want to start podcasting. We do a Sunday Writers Room podcast that's on this network. I want to do one with you when you're available, and maybe we could bring in the comics that are coming on and plug the shows.
Tell me when. And one of the most fun shows that we're going to have in the club is the last Tuesday of every month is going to be New Material Night, where veteran comics cannot do any of their old stuff.
I love it.
Spanking new.
And that's the last Tuesday of every month?
Last Tuesday of every month.
What time's that show?
That's an 8:00 show.
Why don't we do it pre-show?
You tell me, I'll be there.
All right. I'm so game to continue having you on. You're so much fun.
I'll come back anytime. And to clear it up for Margarita, the club is online. It's a virtual club. It's not a live club. You just log on your computer.
Right on, comedytherapy.com. So this is the beginning of the virtual comedy realm, and he is a pioneer of it. So comedytherapy.com. You definitely want to check it out. There's going to be a show every night, 8 p.m., 7 p.m. on Sundays.
Yep.
And looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to tune in too. And speaking of which, I have to tune in tonight to Mark's show. Mark, let us know one more time where.
Yes. So watchlivenow.com. And you can watch our show that is tonight on it's going to be shot like a Netflix special. You can watch it on Apple TV. You can watch it on a Roku or on your phone. But you can watch it on your big TV at home if you have a Roku or Apple TV.
And that's going to be on watchlivenow.com?
Yes.
Got it. And we're going to give a little preview of it. This is your we're going to outro on that as well, right?
Yeah, we're at the Mahaffey Theater tonight, and then the Boca Black Box and the Lakeland Black Box on Sunday. And then I come back to Philadelphia, where I will be not doing anything until I come to Jim's shows online.
There you go. And Marguerite said she's gonna come by, but she wants to pay for a ticket. She supports her artist.
I'll tell you what. How about you do this? You come once as my guest, and then you come to another show. That way, I've got audience for 2 shows.
There you go. Now you have 2 shows, Margarita. That is perfect. That will be a perfect combination. I'm going to segue right into that. Thank you so much, Jim, for coming out with us today. We really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thank
you,
Mark.
That's drinks, jokes, and storytelling.
Yeah.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? That they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom! Why so serious?
But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you.
Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it! My life has value. I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not